Awesome. Hi everyone, Ian Smith, TheStrategySmith. So this session is all about giving leaders and decision makers in business just 7 questions that they need to ask in order to get a project moving, get a change off the ground. The decision makers that have had that consultancy report dumped on their desk and it's holding up their laptop and they know they should do something with it, but this will give you just 7 questions to ask in order to put this into motion, taking ideas into fruition. So 7 questions. Why are they questions? Well, decision makers and leaders, although they do the work themselves as well in some areas, in some businesses and things like that, the best leaders have the best questions, and the best people have the best answers. And leaders can have answers as well. But in order for you to maintain that leadership role and work on your business and not in your business, the 7 questions will enable you to put in place a project management office within 24 hours. Now, how is that possible? I personally had to deliver global programs, global projects across 4 continents, 100 countries, 150 locations, all at once or one at a time. I've been very much in a remote setting for the past 10 years as well. So well before the pandemic, I've worked remotely and had to travel and had to manage projects remotely as well, from small school extensions right up to hundreds of millions of pounds, dollars, euros, etc. in terms of mobilizations and systems integrations. So what this is about is being able to understand if you have got a change that you know that needs to happen, if you've got something in your business that is stalled or is in need of recovery, irrespective of what kind of business or size and complexity of business it is, these 7 questions will enable you to structure and plan and move forward to achieve what success looks like for you. So these 7 questions, number 1, and it's always number 1, the rest of the questions they can interchange and can flow accordingly, but essentially providing line of sight from question number 1 through to the other 6 questions. Question number 1 is always why. Okay. Why is this change or project necessary? Now, the why of a project or change that you're delivering within your business should always ensure that you're delivering towards the vision and the success of your business. And where I'm going with this is, if you have a vision statement within your company, it should have a definite purpose, a plan for the future, and should be your core values. And it should influence decision making on a daily basis. The reason why I mentioned vision is a vision should be put into action via your mission statement. And your mission statement for any project or change that you're delivering within your business or in your business world should always have a mission and a key success factor. So defining what success will look like. Once you're able to define what success will look like, is you're able to then put it into plan. So why? Defining what success looks like, you should always have a SMART goal. So you should be able to look at this live video and replay it. And if you have a circumstance that I mentioned before, that a project is stalling, or you want to get a project to start from the beginning, if you want to create a business plan, a business case, justify a change or anything like that in your company, you should be able to look at this video and there should be something in there that's able to help you through that process. And that's why it's the 24-hour project management office. So SMART, key success factor. It should be specific. You should be able to measure success. It should be accurate, achievable, or assignable. The A and the R, I've heard different analogies for. R, relevant and realistic. T is time-bound. Specific, measurable, and timed are the only letters in SMART that I haven't seen change. And probably for me, they're the most important. It needs to be specific, so you can communicate what success looks like to your team and it ensures that you're able to deliver a succinct message to your team in order to deliver the change. You have to be able to measure it from the current position. So you need to understand where you're at right now and where you want to go to and at what time. So when do you want to achieve this SMART objective? Accurate, of course, make it accurate. Achievable, certainly make it achievable and prove how it can be achieved. That'll work out well for your communication as well. And assignable, I've seen that used also. Can you assign it to other people? And that's actually relevant when I come on to my next point when we look at the why and sometimes why projects stall. Realistic and relevant. So of course, make it realistic. If it's specific, measurable and achievable, assignable, it should be realistic as well. And time bound. How are you going to measure it in terms of time? When is this project going to be complete? And how will you determine that it is complete? Now, the reason why some projects stall is because there's an interpretation of complexity that can be unnecessary in some cases, in some projects. So I've managed projects that were, and these are some of the words that can muddy the waters in projects sometimes. They were global. They were in their billions, millions, thousands of people, billions of turnover, millions of turnover, global. It doesn't make this project and this process any more complicated, because if you're able to define this at a global level, reflective of billions of turnover, for example, millions of turnover or revenue or profit, thousands of people, then it should be assignable into different scenarios within geography, revenue, businesses, etc. And I'll come on to that a little bit in a second as well. So once you've defined your SMART objective, you should be able to assign it then to different project teams to deliver the same SMART objective that's relevant to them being able to deliver it to fulfill the mission that you've set out in the change, which is aligned to your vision in terms of your business. So numbers, scale, complexity to a degree, but numbers and scale don't matter if you're able to nail this process in creating your project management office. So you've defined your SMART goals as to why you're delivering a project. And these can be defined also as key success factors. Mission statements, SMART goals, key success factors. So I determine key success factors as what success will look like. So you know what and when you've achieved and indeed what success is determined by. You can assign things like key project indicators, service levels, things like that to make them measurable and time bound as well, and also specific. The key success factor is what success will look like. And that will determine your mission statement for the project. So once you've defined SMART key success factors from your current position to where you want to go to, you can then start thinking of the second question. Who? Stakeholders, people in your business, business partners, clients, etc. Who is going to be part of the project? Who is going to deliver the project? Who will be involved? From one end of the scale, if you're a solopreneur, who do you need to bring around you to form? In some cases, I've heard it say a mastermind alliance, and I have been in masterminds and I have facilitated masterminds, and they do work for you to be able to gain as much knowledge and support as possible. The other end of the scale, if you're a global CEO, who in your leadership team is going to be held accountable to deliver key success factors that are aiming towards the end mission, and again, who in their teams are going to deliver specific key success factors and objectives in order to deliver the overall mission that aligns to the overall vision. So who various different stakeholders. For example, you can have clients, you can have a project sponsor, you can also have a senior leadership team, and again, these are essentially the decision makers within the project management office, and decision makers will come apparent when you need to govern the project, when certain things are happening that need a decision to be made before you can move on to the next part of the program or project. So senior leadership team, SLT, they can also form a steering group or steering committee. Okay. You also have people that will deliver the project. So, for example, if you're delivering a construction project, you'll have a site team that'll be assigned. You might have a QS, project manager, architect. You'll have mechanical and electrical, or one and the same in terms of contractors. They will have people working in trades, doing foundations, brickwork, DPC, first fix, second fix, etc. And they will form people to the other end of the scale. If you're going through a systems interface or digital transformation, and you might be adopting an agile way of working, you could form squads that are more agile and work in terms of the people being able to change and move quickly. So your people, and then your people within the different areas of work will form work streams, usually that are more relevant to the disciplines that those people are working in. So work streams. When you understand who's going to be involved in the project, the influence and impact that they can have in terms of what they're going to do, the decisions that need to be made, the sponsorship financially and in terms of decision making that needs to be there for the project to move smoothly. You can then start to think, who is not there? So do you need other people to be able to deliver this project? So going back to an on-site analogy or a systems transformation, or even up to a global CEO that needs to reorganize his or her or their organization, who's not there that needs to deliver a specific piece of work? It could be their own team is too burdened with current business as usual that they're not there, and so you need support. It could be a specialism that needs to be delivered in terms of the project, subject matter expert. They're not there, so they need to be brought in. So you can think who is going to be part of the project and help deliver the project, and who's not there. So that's why and who. You'll also have a project lead. So who's going to lead the project? So this person will be the person, someone like myself, that will be asking these questions. But this is all about you being able to ask them yourself, so you know, in terms of troubleshooting, why a project is stalling, how are you going to get this project over the line, how can you build this business case, business plan, project initiation document if you're following Prince 2, etc. So who's going to lead it? Who are your key stakeholders? Client, sponsor, senior leadership, decision makers, the people, the work streams that those people work in. Who's not there? So which specialist knowledge and experience do you need to bring in order to deliver this moving forward? So the third question is what? Now, what is quite a big one. What's going to happen? What is the scope of the project? What contracts are in place, for example? What elements of work needs to take place? What products are going to be produced? What's the cost breakdown of the work that creates the products to deliver the work packages? So what will help you understand breaking down in sequence the packages of work that need to take place to create the product, the service, the new system, the new way of working, the integration, whatever type of project that you're going through or change that you're going through or you want to implement. If you're able to highlight the packages of work in sequence, it will help you when you come on to dependencies, which I'll come on to in a second. Now, developing a line of sight from the why through all through the remaining 6 questions is essentially what this slide is aiming to achieve. The reason why I mention that is the best place, the best data source to understand what needs to happen are in the who. So you can ask the people around you who will take place in the project, who will sponsor the project, who's going to be the clients, who are going to be the people in the work streams to deliver the projects. What in terms of work, breakdown, structure needs to happen and in sequence. This can take place through one-to-ones, it can take place through a workshop, it can take place through facilitation, it can take place through lessons learned. Mr. or Mrs. HR Director, please can you send me through a programme for the previous TUPE transfer that you took place in the integration XYZ. He or she or they will have an experience of delivering that. If you don't have that experience and that's the type of project that you're delivering, then you need to go and find it in terms of a subject matter expert. You can ask your people if it's a construction project, they'll have programs to be able to demonstrate how and their experience and when and how long, etc., the interdependencies of whatever it is that you're building in terms of the work breakdown structure. You may want to create a product breakdown structure as well. And that will help you determine if there's an output to the project that you're aiming to create something. And a product can be software as a service, it can be something tangible, it can be anything that is going to be used as a product and sold in a transactional way moving forward. In terms of services, if you're a services-led business, you will refer ideally to the work breakdown and then to your work streams that are going to be delivering the services if you transition in services, as an example. You can then look at cost. What's the cost of these pieces of work in sequence? What's the cost of creating these products? What materials are going to be needed to create these products? Because they themselves are products as well. From there, you'll be able to develop budgets, but we'll come on to budgets further down in the questions. But here you'll be able to create work packages. Okay. So from work breakdown or product breakdown in sequence, you can allocate costs to the work and to the products. If that's something that you feel needs to take place, then that might be a reason why the project may have stalled, or you might be spending too much money, or something to think about when you're allocating costs to work packages and elements of work that need to take place that your people have told you in order to deliver the key success factors that comply to your mission, comply to your vision, etc. Other things in terms of the what could be, we've mentioned scope and contracts, what type of tech stack is going to take place, what type of digital transformation is required, what systems will be needed, what will your people tell you are needed in terms of answering that question. Question number 4. Another big question that you can ask is how. How will the project take place? How will it be governed? How will you track actions? What actions are needed? How will you track issues when they occur? and mitigate any circumstances that they have an impact on the project? How will you track risks? Will you have stage gates, for example? Will you need to put in place user acceptance testing? How will you manage quality and change control? So these questions will come about as you aim to govern the project. Now, when you establish the work breakdown in sequence and you start to understand how each piece of work needs to take place, you then start to compile actions. And start to compile actions. Your actions will have a timeline, a deadline for each action to be completed. They will also have dependencies. So you'll have an action that needs to take place before the next action can start. An example with dependencies is when a work stream is dependent upon a resource to execute it. And if that resource is fully allocated to delivering one task within that sequence of work, the subsequent tasks are dependent on the tasks beforehand being completed. So it means that if, for example, you've got a HR director, again, 100% allocated to delivering the TUPE people transfer in the UK, then that person can't then go to Germany and work with the HR business partner there. You actually need a HR business partner in Germany to manage that if you want the two tasks to run in parallel. If timing isn't too much of an issue, then you obviously need to have that person who's already in the UK complete or be working on certain tasks before and complete them so they can then go to another country to start the next subsequent tasks. Same thing with communications. Communications have dependencies. They need to go out in terms of policy, in terms of legalities. You need to be able to sequence the communications to your people when you're delivering projects. And one communication can't happen before the first one has gone out, etc. So you'll have actions. Once you understand how you're going to deliver the work, the product, and the cost, you need to put in place communications and have in place contingency plans and continuity plans should issues occur. Now, issues are are events that will impact the project without you realizing. So we'll come on to risks in a second, with all of the risk analysis and understanding and lessons learned and everything else that you've done to try and manage and mitigate negative impact and risk to the project, issues can still occur. Issues can still occur in the project, and you need to have continuity plans in place and things like that in place for you to be able to manage issues when they arise. And that should be communicated, as well as how you're going to monitor and track actions. You can allocate actions with their dependencies and build out a program in terms of a Gantt chart as well to see it. If it's a complex program, to see it overall, to understand the key milestones. Issues and then risks. So you can make an industry out of risk analysis, and in some areas it is needed. For example, if you're an asset-intensive delivery business and you're making a change to a piece of infrastructure, you will backtrack and look at lessons learned, previous failures, previous calibrations, everything, failure mode effects, criticality analysis. There's quite a lot of technicality that can go into risk and understanding risk and controls. I've done it at a high level with major programs and major global multi-million transitions, where the risk analysis has been via a workshop and facilitated it with the key stakeholders and the key people within the room, within the team. And also I've had to deliver it where it's been asset intensive and you go into very technical and industrial analogies, and it is required, because when things fail, you need to have a plan in place as to how you're going to treat those risks, and risk treatment is another key topic. Now, I don't want to make an industry out of risk analysis here, that's probably another live, but if you're going through this process of change, or you need to deliver some form of project, or you're an inventor or you're an entrepreneur, you should really think about what could go wrong and what can go right in terms of opportunity as well, and how are you going to treat those risks. So in terms of how will all of this be governed in terms of governance? Okay. Governance is how the project will be communicated, monitored, and tracked. Also, think about stage gates as well when we talk about governance. So I'll just write stage gates here. When we talk about governance. So governance is kind of the tune that your project will play to. So in terms of monitoring, you will communicate to the project team that you will monitor actions on this timing, on this day in the week, or this day in the fortnight or month, and it will be this time for this work stream or this time for this project team. And you need to communicate that so the whole team knows how you're going to monitor and track the program and the project. If that's not something that you have, you'll need to take an understanding from your people, from your experience, and from the project lead as well, as to how strict and how regular the governance needs to be put into place. For me, when I start a project, I start off with weekly tracking. And then as the project progresses and everyone is getting used to their pieces of work, their work packages, you can take the judgment call and from the key decision maker as to whether you want to go from weekly to fortnightly to monthly. So governance, how it will be monitored and tracked. And when we cover the questions, I will go through how to govern the project as well. What you're going to do about issues. So you need to explain what you're going to do about issues, what risks are, how you're going to measure probability, and what the impact to the project could be. And these need to be communicated so the people in the project are aware as well. So is your governance strong enough? Is it well communicated to people realise how the project is going to be monitored and tracked moving forward? Stage gates. Stage gates are for key decision makers. And you might want to think about stage gates when you're delivering product development, when you're delivering integration, when you're delivering systemization, digital transformation. So a stage gate, if you think of it as a risk assessment for before you need to perform climb a ladder, let's say. There are things that need to be ticked off in that risk assessment before you can even put a hand and a foot on the rung of the ladder. That's a stage gate, and they can be very complex and they can be very, very simple to ensure you get a decision to move forward to the next part of the program. So, for example, if we go back to the construction analogy, you need to get sign off of a piece of brickwork by the on-site CDM person or the on-site construction manager in order to move forward to the next piece of construction work. They'll perform some form of stage gate. It might not be on paper, but there'll need to be an inspection, and there need to be an approval and something written down to say, yes, we can move ahead with the next piece of work. If, for example, you're integrating a system, that system will need to go through a stage gate review so that it's been, the process has been followed in a certain way. It's performing to how it's supposed to be performing. It's being tested as to how it's supposed to be tested. All of this has been quality checked, monitored and tracked throughout the integration. And therefore the stage gate is the approval to allow it to go into maybe sandbox or go into live. once you've done another stage gate. So stage gates can be put in place, and that's something to think about if you're developing something that you want to make sure gets the proper checks in terms of policy, industry standards, and your own internal decision making and governance. Okay, so stage gates, and then once you've done how, you can then think of when. Okay, so we'll get all of these on the same board. When. So when is, for me, it's the fun part, because you've already established when you've looked at time on your key success factors. So that's your key deadline for when the project you've said is hoping to be completed. So when you can determine deadlines, you can determine milestones. You can have deadlines allocated to milestones. Again, milestones are key areas within the project that you determine. I determine as success factors as well, critical success factors, and I'll differentiate critical and key success factors in a second. You can allocate stage gates to milestones as well. So when you've achieved a certain milestone, it needs to go through a stage gate review before you can move on to the next part of the project. The reason why I like to use milestones as critical success factors, as critical success factors are what's needed to ensure the success of the project. So without this happening, you won't be able to move on to the next part of the project. That's why I call them critical success factors. They need to take place in order for the project to move forward, in order to progress. You need to be able to hit this milestone, and it needs to go through regular approval if necessary in order to move forward. So critical success factors. You'll be able to determine critical success factors from the actions needed to perform the work from the people and the subject matter experts that they've told you needs to happen. Now, critical success factors, in order to meet a milestone, very simply, you need to have foundations down as a key milestone. They need to be signed off and approved before you can go to the next course of brickwork DPC. Critical success factor for you to be able to put the next course on, etc. So these things need to happen in the program in order to meet the key milestones. And again, these deadlines and milestones can be communicated to the team so that everyone else knows what's going to happen and essentially when. You've thought about dependencies. Okay. And you can then create quite a robust program of work. Okay. Program can be done in the form of a Gantt chart. It can be created in some cases with a good action log. You can create it in Excel, you can create it in Smartsheet, you can create it in Google Sheets. For me, with all of these things that are being created, they're necessary so you don't use your brain as a filing cabinet. But they're also necessary so you can communicate them effectively. And that's the main thing with projects and change, culture, is being able to communicate what's needed, when, who's going to deliver it, how they're going to deliver it as well. So you're able to create a very robust program. So again, creating line of sight from what success looks like right through to these questions so far. And once you've determined the deadlines, milestones, dependencies, you've created your program, you can then determine when and how you're going to communicate. Corporate communications or communications planning is just as important as the work and the actions and the tasks that need to be performed in order to execute the actual overall program. So you can allocate communications to milestones. You can allocate communications processes to your stage gates. Has this been communicated? Yes. Has the decision been made from the senior leadership team or from the sponsor? Have we got approval from the client? Yes. So the communications plan should run in parallel to the work and the actions to hit the deadlines and the milestones. Again, communications can be allocated as a critical success factor to allow the project to be a success that you've allocated right from the beginning. Communications, when are they going to take place? What are you going to communicate and when and to who? It's a very good way of governing the program as well. Okay, 6. Where? So this is where, this is why I drew on here global, billions, millions, thousands. Once you have your key success factors, your SMART objectives as to what you want to achieve, you know who is going to be involved in the project, the people within the work streams delivering the work packages, you've allocated cost to the work packages, you're able to create actions, you've told everyone how you're going to monitor issues and risks and put in place mitigation continuity strategies. You've communicated, or you're able to communicate how the whole program will be governed. You can allocate stage gates to key milestones that hit key deadlines. You've created a program, understood where your critical success factors are, because you've got your dependencies in there as well, and you understand your communications plan. Once you've got this, it can be interchangeable to any geography, to any place within the organisation. If you wanted to move if you wanted to grow organically to another city or another country, if you've won a global account for a new element of service delivery, you will have different clients in different countries, but still same part of the organisation. You'll have an overall project sponsor, perhaps, that can monitor and agree and work shoulder to shoulder with the senior client globally, for example. But you can also have in-country sponsors that will have their own steering group, their own people and work streams that will follow, to a degree, the same actions that you've allocated in your master plan. Once you've managed to establish your master plan, you can then go back to another area in the business, another geography, another organic growth initiative, another acquisition, and you can ask these questions again if you need to. So who in Belgium are going to be the people who deliver the work streams? This is an example of what we were already delivering, or a part of the global plan that we've done working with our subject matter experts. Is it going to change? It's likely to change in accordance with culture, in accordance with policy, certain legalities, ways of working, in-country specifics. They may have different operating systems. They may have language barriers. And all of these things, you can simply go through these questions in order to create an in-country plan, which will have its own deadlines and stage gates. But again, you guessed it, we'll go back to your SMART objective. Are we in line to achieving the overall SMART objective? So once you've got to questions 1 to 6, it's interchangeable and transferable to any country. And if you have the right people in the right places, and again, these are the questions that you need to ask, then you simply need to ask the people what needs to take place in accordance with the geography as to where and how it's going to take place. So where internal to the organisation, external to the organisation? Is it going to be cloud-based? Is it going to be remote? Is it going to be in a certain geography? So we can put here geography, internal, external. Okay. And because you've determined how it's going to be governed, you've got all of these things in the other questions. The where it will take place, it can be led remotely, it can be in different countries, it can be in different cities, it can be in another area of the organisation. If you're doing a systems interface into one area of the organisation, there's no reason why you can't adopt the same project plan and start the next project. But again, being able to ask these questions to enrich the program and the actions that need to take place in order to adopt your lessons learned, benefits realization from previous project and adopt it somewhere else. That said, they can therefore run two parallel projects at the same time in line with the same program that's been allocated the overarching SMART key success factors. That's your mission statement that still is able to be influenced by your overall vision. 7. How much? Budgets, feasibility. So mentioned that you should be able to create now a project management office, a project charter. If you answer these questions, you can create a project charter. SMART, key objectives, stakeholders, influence, impact, interest, what is going to take place, and in terms of your work packages, actions, issues and risks, how you're going to govern the project and monitor and track actions. Are you going to use stage gates? Are they needed? What they're going to look like? And do they need to be created? Overall deadlines, milestones, critical success factors, etc. So project feasibility, again, it can be made an industry out of, and in some cases it's necessary. So if you're building a major construction project, you'll be able to forecast feasibility in the next 30 years. It'll create its own special purpose vehicle. It'll have P&L, cash flow, balance sheet. You'll need to create a weighted average cost of capital. Gives you a discount factor for you to then be able to calculate the feasibility and internal rate of return of that project. I have pro formas and things like that that I use for project feasibility, and it is very complex and complicated. You can use a simple method if your project isn't as complex, called the payback method. So how much money are you going to put in based on the amount that's going to give you the return of that project and that product or service delivery or operational efficiency, and therefore how quickly over time will you get your money back. So if you put in 100 grand and let's say you're going to get 100 grand efficiency or 50 grand efficiency for the next 5 years, it's going to take you at day 0, you'll be minus 100 grand. Year 1, you'll be minus 50 because you've got that 50k back. Year 2, you'll be breaking even. Year 3, you'll be plus 50. Year 4, you'll be plus 100. So in 3 years, you'll get your money back. However, that's a very simple project and a very simplistic way of looking at a payback method. It doesn't take into account the time value of money, which is why project feasibility can be quite complex. So again, this should enable you to ask these questions to think, do I need a feasibility study before I even start, or should I have one done now in order to understand the impact and the actual return on investment? Feasibility studies are required when you want to raise funds as well. So that's why I come back to the major project analogy. Similarly, if you're wanting to invest in businesses, you want to make acquisitions, you need to take into account valuations. When you go through a detailed due diligence, you need to look at impact analysis and things like that. So feasibility, when we go to how much, developing line of sight from here back up to your key success factors. and asking your people, you should also ask, is feasibility required, to what degree? And you'll have, as decision makers in your own industry and target markets, you'll know to a degree, I'd like to think, whether a feasibility study is required. That's when you can also ask who's going to do it, but who's not in the business, because sometimes you need specialist support in order to put those feasibility studies in place. Feasibility, return on investment. We mentioned the WACC, net present value return, rate of return, and we mentioned payback. They all come under return on investment. Those are the 7 questions that you should ask when making decisions within your business that would ensue a project needed for a change, transformation, irrespective of the size, scale, or complexity. These 7 questions and the things I've outlined here are interchangeable. And once you've put them in place, you've got your overall SMART objective, you've got your senior leadership team, the steering committee, your work streams can then be allocated the same or similar action plans or work packages to deliver, to conform to the overall program, to meet the overall deadlines, to meet the overall key success factors. So we've had 46 minutes. I think what I'll do is on Thursday is I'll go through project governance as to how to govern the project and how to deploy the project as well. Because once you've established all of these, the answers to all of these questions, you want to be able to kick off the project. Now, to a degree, when you're asking these questions to your people, you ask your clients, ask who's going to sponsor the project, your business partners, leadership teams, etc. If the project is a confidential project, then you'll have to bring these people together in a confidential setting. You can't wander around your business. For example, if you want to make a major transformation, or you want to grow organically in Manchester, or you want to grow organically in another country, or you want to go and buy another business, you need to be able to bring these people together and explain to them in line with your vision. Again, it's not a fluffy cliche, the vision. It's something that you should have to be able to put into action. Definite purpose, plan for the future, and your clear values. So in order to take that and really make it grow, create SMART objectives as to what you want to do in order to fulfill the mission that will fulfill the overall ambition of the business. Then you can bring your people together. Whether you're an entrepreneur, bring together your trusted mastermind alliance that Napoleon Hill calls it. Bring your trusted people together, decision makers in business. I don't care if you're a global CEO or a solopreneur, you should have trusted people that you can talk through these things with if it's a sensitive commercial, sensitive or confidential project that you want to move forward with. Once you've done that and got to this stage, you're able then to work with subject matter experts, bring them in to build out a lot of this before you communicate to the wider organisation, if that's the makeup of your organisation. Okay, so that's the 7 questions that you should be able to ask. And if I've been able to go through this in 46 minutes, then that's how a 24-hour PMO is possible. You do need the experience of a project management professional, and myself. It would be any project, anywhere, literally, in terms of complexity, size, etc. And yes, there'll be different answers to these questions. Yes, there'll be different scale, complexity, monetary values. But you now, as decision makers, need only ask these 7 questions. Watch this video back as well, and look for the areas where you're able to either recover projects, deliver projects, create key growth projects with your trusted leadership team or your mastermind alliances, and build them out and then communicate them, kick them off. I'll cover more of that as well on Thursday. So please send me your questions. I'd love to hear from you if you're going through some business critical change, or if you're looking to develop a new product, raise finance for your business. All of these things I'm able to look at and work with you on. And yeah, hope to see you soon. And I'll see you on Thursday at the same time. Thanks, everybody.